Welcome back, guys. So, Luke, what's new with you?
Not much, to be honest. Carrying on, work as per. I think, yeah, the sun's coming around now, so things just a little bit better, man.
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course.
actually, what's new is that I was skating last week. You were there. Did a trick, snapped my fresh board.
Well, I arrived just after, but yeah,
that was terrible. So skating on deck.
it's always pain.
Yeah.
It's
Other
always
than that, yeah, I'm not much new. Same old, same old. But yeah, I'm good nonetheless.
Yeah.
How's things on your end?
Yeah, pretty much the same, man. Just working, trying to quit,
Yeah.
trying to find a new job, trying to do something different, and just figure it out as always.
Yeah.
You know, but the way that I see it, it's all about the journey, not the destination.
True. Big facts.
And yeah, I think that's kind of, you know, going to lead into this episode, talking about social media, the impacts of it, the pros and the cons. Now, obviously, bearing in mind, this is obviously from our perspective.
Yeah.
Not everybody would agree, but it's always good to get other people's opinions, I think, because everybody's opinion is valid to a degree. But
yeah, disclaimer,
yeah, but to a degree. But yeah, man, you know, I've been trying to stay away from social media. I set a timer on it on my phone so that I'm only on it for like maximum 2 hours a day.
All right.
I try not to invest too much time into it just because I find it can be very overwhelming. It's quite a toxic place when it needs to be. But at the same time, I can't just cut it out fully just because I do speak to people on it.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got our group chat on there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a nice little getaway sometimes after a long day. I just doom scroll for a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's you know, kind of my stance. I'm not a big fan of social media. I'd rather stay away from it completely.
Yep.
Especially with the kind of era we grew up in. But you know, it's easier said than done, I think, personally.
Yeah. To be honest, I agree with you. I don't really use social media that much. I only use it to contact you lot or, you know, just doom scroll pretty much. But I don't think there's a massive problem with that. But to a certain degree, there is. You know, like there's certain things that the information that you're taking in, I think can be a problem. Especially like, you know, we're here to talk about men's mental health.
Of course.
And, you know, we're both two men. And what we see on social media can influence us. We're older now and we come from a generation where we never started with that.
Yeah.
So it's not something we expect. But all these kids growing up, man, they grow up watching, you know, people with millions and millions of pounds in their account. You know, their currency is overflowing and they're just flexing on the internet. And then that creates an expectation. Like, what should we be like when we're older? What should we achieve by the time we're 18? It's just unrealistic, man.
Well, that's it. I think
I
think with how today's society is going, you know, everything's just easily accessible. Everything is so easily accessible. I mean, I remember when I was younger, you know, we had a family computer and it's like whatever you wanted to do was on that computer.
Yeah.
There was no mobile phones. We had a landline phone. You know, if I needed to call somebody, I'd have to call them on the landline and then be like, quick, call me back. Because I didn't want to run up the phone bill. But everything's just so much more easily accessible now. I mean, you know, you've gone from, if you want to find something on the internet, you've got to search for it, right? Now, you can go towards the dark side of the internet. Like, you know, when we was growing up, Live Leak was a massive thing, right? Before it closed down. And you can find the craziest videos on there. Now you just go onto Twitter and it's just there. You know, you see the maddest. And I think because it's so easily accessible for kids, there's no restrictions in place from early onset of you downloading the app and creating an account. All you've got to do is have an email and create a password. And then you're on.
What country actually they've recently set boundaries? Is it Australia?
I think it's one of them countries there.
Till 16 or something like that. You can't go on social media or
which I think is a good thing, because I mean one thing that I watched recently that was really, really interesting. I know you haven't. I don't think you've watched it yet. Is Adolescence. Now this obviously
have not.
It's swept the country. It's taken it by storm. To the point where they're now showing it in schools because of how kind of educational it is. Now, most people watch these types of things, you know, just for the plot. But the way you have to analyze and observe this show is based around what it's covering and the morals. And it's to do with social media, especially the influence it has on younger kids, especially younger men within the world, and how they're navigating it. To do with, you know, like we're obviously talking about, to do with how to be a man and how to handle certain situations, how to treat people. And it's selling a false narrative and making people think that the way you're acting is right. Now, there is no right or wrong.
True.
That's, you know, it's a one-sided story, but kids are so easily manipulated.
They're sponges, bro. They literally soak up information.
They take information in. And I think this show really sheds a light on how social media has changed the game for how kids see things and their perspectives on things. You know, going from the emojis that they're using, the emojis that we used on MSN, just, you know, you would
going back now.
Exactly, you know, Bebo, MySpace, you would download emojis because you're like, you know, I want a new laughing emoji that lights up or some crazy shit. But now every emoji that there is, there's a meaning to it.
What is that about? I've never understood. Crazy, you know, like the whole purple heart stuff and all these other things. Like, does it really make sense to me? It doesn't. I don't really think in that way. But obviously, the youngsters are growing up with this type of era, so they're gonna always think that way. Oh, this emoji means something. I don't care for it.
We've obviously got, you know, the standard emojis. You know, like the tree obviously means, you know, weed, like marijuana. You've got the snowflake, which means cocaine. Yeah, cool. But the deeper kind of symbolism behind it and like what they stand for some of the other ones is crazy. Now, if you watch the show, you'd understand. They don't go into too much detail about all of them, but, you know, obviously there's been studies now carried out about this and about what the emojis mean. And it's just crazy. Like, they're communicating and they're using emojis to basically bully people, essentially. Right.
It's gotten that deep.
It's that deep. So you're not even using words, you're using emojis, which is just crazy.
That's wild.
Like, you know, I was kind of gassed when they added the middle finger emoji to the roster, but now you've got all these emojis that mean you're an incel, that mean you're a recluse, you're this, that, the other.
Okay.
And it is interesting. The way the show breaks it down is very interesting. Because obviously it follows like a murder that's happened, but it's like, you know who's done it. At the end of the day, you know who's done it. You know what's happened here. It's just breaking it down bit by bit to show that social media can be a plague when it wants to be, and it's so easily adaptable. Because you have something in front of you that you're looking at, and you can just take it and make it something completely different.
Fair enough.
And change the whole aspect of it.
Fair enough.
Right?
I agree. I mean, sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Like, social media is basically, it's not real. It isn't real, you know? Like, all of the experiences I had as a kid were fully tangible. Like, they were at a place and a time of day, whereas social media is daytime every single minute of the day. So, you know, you could be in bed and you're still wide awake kind of thing. You know, like, I don't really understand that world personally. Because I don't want to be a part of it. Of course, I've had experiences where, you know, we've done music together. And I've had to use social media to promote my music and do all that stuff, you know? And I think when it comes to that, social media has its benefits. It does very much, it has got great uses, you know?
100%.
For businesses and stuff like that. But the other side of things, where it is literally like a brain-numbing system. It makes people in our society numb to reality, and I don't think that's good for the youth. I think it's really bad. It puts an image across, and, you know, specifically for men, when they look online, bro, the amount of traps there are online, and you know what I'm talking about. You know how specific we're getting here.
It's crazy.
It's a problem, dude. And, you know, the false image that is created in their head, synced with another false image of how a man should be and what a man should have. It literally, I think it puts people in a position where they want to force an outcome. You force an outcome, you're going to do something bad.
Of course.
Let the universe do its thing. Let your life flow the way that it should flow. The good old days of us, you know, knocking at each other's doors. Oh, can so-and-so come out?
I was going to say, 100%. It's a different time. Everything, like I said, is easily, everybody, not just everything, but everybody is easily accessible, right? You sign up, you put all your information in, boom, this app now has your information. Now, whether they have data privacy in place or not, that's a different story. But the fact that you've gone from that physical interaction of knocking at your friends' houses and hoping they're home and hoping they can come out to play, to now being like, are you at home? What are you saying? Don't get me wrong. I like the concept when it was originally created with like Facebook and like MSN as a way to connect with people that you have lost contact with. You know, Instagram started out as a photo app where you can upload photos. And
oh, you remember that?
build a library. Exactly, right?
I think the actual icon for Instagram was
it was a camera.
It was a camera.
Right, exactly, because you're storing your memories. It's a place, instead of you keeping it in your photo library, you can then follow people and show people what you're up to, what you're doing, what, you know, where you've gone. And it was an amazing concept. But obviously over time, things change and things evolve, not always for the best. And I still remember Facebook when I was younger, you couldn't create an account if you was under the age of 13. If you tried to, if you put your birthday in under that age, it would say, no, you can't. And I don't think that's a thing anymore. I think they've removed that. And obviously Facebook, not many of the newer generation use that. Because what's the point, right? So most people that have Facebook are of age and are well above the kind of age threshold that you would have had to been at. But, you know, Snapchat, I feel like if you're a grown man,
you should not be using Snapchat.
Not using Snapchat.
Please, but
just delete it.
Just get rid of it.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to snap this. It's just stop, grow up.
The idea of it makes me want to cringe. It is literally like, not for my age.
Nah, you know, it's an outdated app. Personally, I mean, I deleted it a while ago because I'm not going to use it. I mean, I would only use it to speak to one person. And then it's kind of like, well, I'm speaking to him on Instagram anyway. So what's the point? Let me just cut out this app and just delete it because I have no need for it. And because Instagram does the same thing that Snapchat does.
It's true.
You
now
know?
It does,
Exactly. And but that's the thing. It's all changed so quickly because, you know, they're obviously looking for selling points. They're looking for people to keep joining, keep signing up, do all of this, do all of that. But it has genuinely just made it so much more worse for people to become introverts and lock themselves away and just scroll and compare their lives to somebody else. Now, I'm a victim of this, and I'm sure you probably are too at some point, where it's like you're sat there and you're at a point in your life where you're like, okay, cool, I'm working, I've got a job, but I'm not where I want to be. You know, we did touch on this last episode briefly, but you compare yourself to people that are younger than you that make 100 times more money than you. They're famous, they're everywhere. They're, you know, you got to take prime example of Justin Bieber, Trippie Redd, all of these artists. Not just music artists, but just people that are
streamers, you know,
streamers are
models, you know,
big time right now, big time.
Certain icons. And it's weird to me, like in a world where obviously we grew up watching skate videos, you'd have to wait for the video to drop. And then you're like, oh snap, you know, my favorite skater has got a sick part. Now it's like, you could just literally go to their IG and watch them skating all day. It's lost that, like, the enthusiasm to wait for them to drop something and then be excited.
I think it's lost that sense of sentimentality as well, because it's like, back when I was younger, like when I was young, like my older brother used to BMX, and there was no, like, YouTube wasn't a thing, because that came out, YouTube released in like, what, 09? I think it come around, and I was going into like year 7 at that point. And obviously that obviously made things a lot more accessible as well. But what he used to do is he'd have to like subscribe to a magazine or like buy a magazine to get the latest DVD of somebody's part, or like a half an hour, 45-minute video of like BMXing and watch that. And now it's like you said, you just go onto IG and it's there. You look for it. Keyword skating, boom, you've got a whole roster and roster of videos that you can watch. Of some crazy shit.
I used to love that, man. That whole like structure of waiting for things to release week by week. It was something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Whereas everything's instant now. I remember I used to wait for certain comics to drop to read them. You know? And now it's like, you don't really need to do that. You can look at everything online.
This is it. But you lose that physicality behind it. And I think that was a good way in making people come together as well, because it's like, you know, back in the day, it's like, oh, yo, like I've got this latest DVD of the BMX. Like my older brother used to do it. His boys used to come over and they used to sit,
and they just used to watch apart. I used to go over to my boy's house and watch skate videos.
Exactly. He'd say to them like, oh, yo, I've got the latest DVD from this guy. What are you saying? Come over, watch it there. Come over, and they'd have a little, you know, get some food, maybe some Dominoes.
Yep.
Load it up. Boom, you got a 45-minute video of people BMXing. Now it's like, oh, this video is sick. Boom, send it to this person. Boom, send it to that person.
Yep.
And it's like, don't get me wrong, like I say, we are also a part of the problem, because we do this with our videos that we watch, all the memes that we send. And it, like I said, you lose that physicality because you're not with the people that you want to be sharing it with. You're just sharing it with the people that you want to send it to.
Question. So obviously the whole nature of social media has adapted through multiple apps. You know, we're talking about Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, X now, whatever it's called. Where do you think it went wrong? Like, I remember MySpace was a thing back in the day. MSN was cool just to contact each other after school, hang out with your friends after school. Where do you think it went wrong? Like, I'll give you my perspective on this. Like, as soon as, what was that app called? Tumblr. Remember Tumblr?
Yeah. I never used it, but I know about it.
All of my like female friends at school, they would use it, and they would use it in a certain way, right?
It was the original Instagram.
It was, I think that premise of it, where, you know, you would create a Tumblr account and you'd get certain, you know, not views, but you would receive certain attention from it, you know? A lot of emo people went down that route, and that's what I understood.
Of course. I think it's for validation.
Exactly.
It's all for validation.
That's the point I was going to make,
that's the society we live in now. Everybody seeks validation. I can say that with chess because I've been there. I've done that. I've sought out validation from people that don't actually give two fucks about me. And that's, now I've come to terms with it, that's fine, because it is what it is. But at the same time, seeking validation from people that genuinely don't actually care about you is probably the worst thing to do. You're seeking validation. This is why people want to be famous, right? Mainly now for the money and the validation. People want to seek out for the money because obviously you want to live that comfortable life. You want to be rich. You want to be successful. You want to be famous. Cool. Fair play. But if you're seeking out validation from people that are chasing after you as fans, not as your friends, it's kind of like, what are you doing? You know, you need to know who your real friends are, who the people around you are, and surround yourself with people that genuinely care about you and that genuinely love you as a human being, as an individual, because then otherwise you're just going to attract the wrong type of people. And it's like you said, you know, that was around the time it did start going wrong, was when Tumblr came out. I mean, you know, back in the day, it was when I was in primary school, it was, you know, I'd get home from school, load up MSN, boom, chatting to the guys. You know, I'll go onto all these like Flash games and mini clip, like RuneScape, you know, Club Penguin. I'm playing like all of these games, and Bin Weevils. Now that was a game. Adventure Quest, like I'm doing that. I'm there to speak to my friends. There was no other way for us to speak to each other. You know, that was the time where it became vital for us to stay in contact, because it's like, cool, I'm going to see you at school, but at the same time, you know, we've got a lot to talk about. You know, but I would also use it as a way, don't get me wrong, when I was younger, I was a dog. I was going to man sort of move things. I was on Habbo Hotel. You know, I was moving to things on Habbo Hotel. Now that's a throwback in itself. And you know,
oh man,
it was a wild time, but also at the same time, it was way safer than it is now. It's way more accessible now, and it's scary because there are no restrictions in place. Like, and I'm afraid myself to raise children in this society.
100%.
Because it's only going to get worse.
100%.
It's only going to get worse.
If you were to have kids, then would you separate them from a phone completely, or just social media?
I think if I were to have kids at this point, or sort of somewhere later on down the line, I would restrict them from being online as much as I could. Now, obviously, I don't want to take full control, because I want them to grow as individuals and figure stuff out for themselves.
True.
But I also want to be that statue that they can come to and be like, can you explain this to me? Can you tell me about this? I don't want them to kind of fear me so that they feel like they can't come to me with their problems, right? Because I never really had too much guidance growing up. And that's not me saying that, you know, I didn't have people there that could teach me or show me. It's just I figured out a lot by myself. You know,
our generation did. Our generation literally figured everything out by ourselves, not by searching something up on our phones, but we did the trial and error phase. Oh shit, that fucked up. Let me not do that again. Let me do it like this instead. Oh, that worked out. Perfect. I now have learned something. Let me share that with my friends. Whereas now, like, I see it with my sisters all the time, bro. Any problems they have in life, what's the solution?
TikTok.
What does Google say? What does social media say? Oh, you know what? That is exactly what I'm going to follow. And they think they know it all, bro. It's actually, this is another thing which I wanted to talk about. Like, social media, especially in young girls and young men as well, it has the same effect, but we're not as developed at that age between, you know, adolescence, right? So young girls think they are entitled to certain things, and that basically it encourages men to perform certain actions for validation from women. And that's what I think the problem is now. You see, you know, the topic of adolescence, the incel thing or whatever it is, bro, that it's not just young boys looking online for these certain things. You know, boys are physical beings. We need to have physical contact with our mates, with our parents, you know, with the girls that we like, you know, whatever it may be. But for women, it's different when they grow. They mature so quick. And I don't know, I feel like from a young age, their mind goes towards transactional behavior. You know, I have to receive something to give something. And men at the end of the day, at a young age, they're like constantly, you know what? I'm just going to keep giving. I'm just going to keep giving, and get nothing in return. You know, I don't know. I don't know where the difference is. I think it's because of the mental development that women go through. But us men, man, we're a bit more slower, and it puts us in a difficult position because once we start to believe something or have a mental, you know, view of something, it becomes our reality. Most men believe that they should pay a woman to see them in a certain way. But what's taught them that? The fact that you have all of these girls online doing what they need to do to pay their bills. Sad fucking problem.
I 100% I agree. I think it's a touchy subject, I think, because obviously there's two sides to the story. There's always two sides to a story, no matter what, right? Now, me personally, I think do what you want with your life, right? Because you're entitled to do that. But also set expectations within, you know, the people around you and the people that see you, because it's like, it goes back to that whole being easily accessible online. You know, you're posting pictures and videos of your life and yourself in whatever manner it is, whether it's a way of you making money, whether it's a way of you just showing people what you're doing or where you're at or who you're with. You're still, I believe in, you know, energy, and you putting this stuff out there allows people. You said this to me today. You and your missus said this to me today. I'm prone to posting on social media about how I feel and where I'm at and what I'm doing. Now I need to stop doing that because evil eye is a real thing. People will hate on you and will try and bring you down, not by saying anything to you, but by just wishing on your downfall. Right? And this is what loads of people don't understand. You make yourself become so easily accessible at everybody. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people are able to see you on a daily basis. And this is what's hard for new artists and new people that are coming into the spotlight. Prime example, Justin Bieber, right? He's an amazing artist. Brilliant, one of the best.
He's also a victim. He's a victim.
This is what I mean. He was put into the spotlight at the age of like, what, 13, 14. He doesn't know how to handle this. He's at that 16 years old doing 67 shows back to back, consistently. He doesn't know how to deal with it. It's all new to him. Great, the money's great, but yet what about his mental health? What about his physical health, right? So that affected him. So you disappear. There's loads of artists that come into that spotlight, they blow up. Cool, they're in that position where they're like, I'm living the high life. But then all of a sudden you've got people following you. You've got people hating on you. You've got people wishing that you died or some crazy shit, right? They don't know how to deal with that because it's so sudden.
Also, it's different when you're a child and you grow up to be a superstar. Everyone's going to treat you like a child. They're going to give you a positive, you know, a positive experience. Whereas you're an adult, they can be more rude to you. They can be more blunt. But in that world, there's a lot of yes men that follow these people around.
Yeah.
Another example is, what is it? Amanda Bynes, is it? The Amanda Show?
Yes.
And Miley Cyrus?
Yeah.
These two young, great stars who just fell into crap.
Yeah.
You know, because they were superstars. You know? And look at Amanda now, man. I don't even recognize her.
The switch around was
crazy, crazy. And just remember, guys, this can happen to you also. God damn it, man.
It's facts. It's true. Like, genuinely, it's real shit, because you're so easily influenced by what's around you. And it's like, you know, the Amanda Bynes thing is like, she completely changed her whole look.
Bro, what is she now? I don't even know what she is.
Right? It's crazy. Like, you got that little heart-shaped tattoo there, Botox, filler, all of that sort of stuff. Now, I'm all for, you know, if you want to do body enhancements, do body enhancement.
Yeah.
But when you change your whole physical structure, that's when you know you're at a point where it's like, you're deep.
Yeah.
You're in deep.
Yeah. I bet you
don't know how to get out.
I bet you as well that there were thousands and thousands of people behind her online, on social media, saying, you look great.
Yeah,
you look beautiful. This is amazing.
Of course. But it's again that validation.
In reality, you're not looking great. You look massively unhealthy. You don't look happy. You know, like, these are the things you want to look for. You want to be able to feel how you look. If you're happy, you want to look happy. Bro, it's a different world for them. But social media, again, is another thing which I think is doing that to a small degree to all of us.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. It's an addiction. And that's plain and simple. Yeah. It's an addiction. You can't, there are some people, there's a small percentage of people that can just, that I know and I have met that aren't on social media at all.
Yeah.
They've either been on it and they've come off of it, or they just haven't been on it at all.
Yeah.
But it's very hard. It's similar to smoking, it's similar to drinking. You can't just cold turkey it and just come off of it.
Yeah.
You know,
in this world, madness. You
definitely
can't.
not. Definitely not. Especially, like, I get the idea behind creating a business and creating a career from it. Great, amazing. Influencers have built themselves up. They've created a brand out of themselves, out of their own name, and that's amazing. But when you're not using it to your advantage, and it's like you're letting it bring you down, and it's doing more damage than it is good, then there's a cycle that needs to be broken. But you can't break that cycle because it's an addiction.
True. True.
Instagram will feed you what you want to see based on how you're feeling, right?
True, true. Funny thing about that as well, with addictions comes, what is it called? Expectations.
Yes.
When someone does drugs for the first time and they continue to do drugs, which, by the way, is going to be another topic for another episode. But when they do drugs for the first time, they get that massive high, euphoric feeling, greatest thing in the world. Then when they do it again, they're looking for that expected high that they received originally.
Exactly.
And that is the dopamine trip that everybody's on right now. You know, they are tripping over it. They're tripping over it constantly. And I remember at one point when I was doing music and I was like 19-ish, I wanted to get certain likes and I wanted to get certain comments for my stuff. And you know what? The way that the world is set up, it doesn't work like that.
Of course.
You know, people who are at the top of the table get promoted because they make money for other people.
Yeah.
It's all a money game. You could literally be the new Bob Dylan. Yeah. You could be one of the best classical, you know, artists, whatever, jungle, reggae, rock, and no one's going to bat an eye at you because the whole market's saturated, bro.
Of course. And it's like I said last episode, the especially the music scene, saturated. Yeah. Everybody's doing it. Everybody wants to be a someone. Yeah. And that's fine. Have dreams, have goals, 100%. You need them. That's how you become somebody. That's how you get to where you want to get to. That's how you achieve your happiness, your fulfillment. But when everybody sees that it's an easy way to make money, which is not, first of all, it's not an easy way to make money. Let's be real.
Yeah.
People are sold these dreams because you see people like Post Malone, you see people like Trippie Redd that came up overnight, right? Blew up overnight, but you don't see their backstory.
Yeah.
You see that they've now taken the world by storm. And don't get me wrong, Post Malone is an amazing artist, and he's a great person.
Yeah, I love that guy.
He's such a good
guy.
He just doesn't care.
Yeah.
He changed his whole image. He's created this whole persona. Not even a persona, it's genuinely just him, which is amazing. And he's one of the few artists that have done that. And these kids see that these people have done this and they've just come up overnight on SoundCloud. Remember the SoundCloud era with X, Juice, Trippie, Post Malone, like all of these guys, right? They've come up overnight and people instantly be like, oh, well, they've just released one song. And that one song is just taking them to new heights. Now they're making the money. They've got the fame. They've got the girls. They got this. They got that. They got the other. But what they don't see behind the scenes is like, these guys have been making music for years. Post Malone even admitted it. He was like, I took a chance going to LA with no money. I lived in my friend's closet. I was scrambling for change down the side of the sofa to buy a pack of cigarettes. And he made the song White Iverson, done the video.
White Iverson.
And his manager was like, don't release it yet. And he said, I'm tired of waiting around and not doing what I want to do. I want people to see this is a masterpiece. He took pride in his work, right? But his manager was like, it's not the right time to release the video. Don't do it yet. He just released the video. And overnight,
sensation.
Sensation, right? But it's not that easy because he was able to deal with it because he took time afterwards to navigate that side of fame that he had now achieved, right? And he took it to the point where he took himself away. White Iverson took off. He done Congratulations. He done that album, and then that was it. He disappeared for a little bit. Was still active, but he wasn't as active as other people. But he didn't let it bring him down because again, he's coming into that adulthood where he knew he's not going to let it get the best of him. Now he might just be strong-minded and have a strong will against allowing that to bring him down. But I mean, look at him now. He's one of the world's biggest artists.
And that is a clear example of someone who doesn't, post their every single step along the way. They just show up. And they already have that experience. Life is like that. People say, how do they say it? You gotta prepare, right? You fail to prepare to fail.
Exactly.
Right? So when an opportunity comes over to you, it's not luck that it came to you. It's not luck. You literally prepared for this opportunity.
Of course.
And now that it presents itself, you are absolutely ready to obliterate this situation with all the ammunition that you've gathered over the times of experience.
Of course.
And you don't need to share your steps along the way.
No, you don't.
What we're doing this now, we are technically jumping into that problem in itself. We're giving ourselves an opportunity to be vulnerable.
We're putting ourselves on that platform where it's like, and that's one big thing for me because I've always struggled with dealing with my emotions and talking about my problems. And now I'm sat here talking about my emotions.
How ironic.
I know, right? But at the same time, it's a good feeling to kind of make people aware that everything is okay. It's not as complex as people make it out to be. It's as simple as don't let yourself become a victim of trends. Don't let yourself become a victim of addiction. Just take it day by day, slowly, and just work out different ways for you to actually find yourself, not put yourself in that position, but also use it to the best of your advantage. Because I mean, you can make a whole business from social media as long as you use it just for that. You don't have to be a part of the problem. You don't have to become a part of the problem.
It's true. Like, I don't think the way that we're going to do this now is we're going to be, letting out our episodes and people are going to watch it and we're going to be like, why aren't people validating us?
Of course.
We have a bigger idea here.
100%.
We're doing this not just for the viewers who are going to benefit from this, but we're doing it for ourselves. It gives us an opportunity to talk about problems that we have in our lives and problems that, are going on that people can sort of relate to, and it's an experience for us all. So I think it's good for us to do this because we're not on social media like that. We don't look for validation as we used to when we were younger. So I think it's better to go into things with an open mind as well as an understanding that you're not going to get what is guaranteed.
Of course. I mean, they say it takes 10,000 hours to master something.
And that's a guarantee. To master it is a guarantee.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean you're going to gain fame from it, because at the end of the day, I came to you with this idea. We've obviously always had the podcast in mind, and I came to you with this idea of I was in a bad place, and I was like, men's mental health, why is it not spoken about enough? Now, I've obviously seen a few other podcasts that do cover it, but the way that I had the idea of doing it and that you've obviously added on to is kind of like, we want to be able to just help people and guide people and not necessarily give them the answers, but just try and make things a bit easier because nobody has it figured out. Nobody knows what life is going to offer. And it's hard enough navigating everything without having any idea on what's going on. And I feel like creating this space for people to just come to and, say that they can understand or say that they can relate and be like, I felt like that at one point, I feel like My problem might be I'm on social media too much. Okay, this episode covers social. Let me have a little watch.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want people to be like, okay, that's cool. I can take this away and use it myself and then come back and say, this worked, you know? And that's the type of space I want to create for people, especially for men, because it's a lot harder, like you said, where we have them expectations behind us now because of social media.
Yeah.
It's created this whole facade of men having to be this breadwinner when it's like, really and truly, this is going to be a controversial thing, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Feminism and how far it's come and how it's changed as a whole. Now, I'm not shitting on feminism. I think it's amazing. Fight for your rights, fight for your equality, everything like that. But then you've got that contrast of people, especially women, who are coming saying, oh, I want a man who makes 100K a year. Again, we touched on this last episode. I want a man who makes 100K a year. I want a man who drives this car. I want a man who has this job, who gives me money so I don't have to work. But yet you're the same type of person that wants to preach equality and feminism.
Yeah.
But yet when somebody who doesn't give you that, which is, by the way, you're not going to find it, just a disclaimer, when you then you preach all of this stuff and then you don't get it, and then we're also the bad guys every time, in every circumstance.
Yeah.
The man is the bad guy.
Yeah.
The man is the bad guy. This is something he's done. But again, this isn't me shitting on any women, because women are amazing. We need them. We need each other to keep going, to keep humanity going. Just in a general aspect, we need women in every aspect. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
But with social media, it's completely changed the whole game of it.
Yeah.
It's completely changed the whole game of it.
Let me jump in on that as well. Like, I agree with you to a certain degree. I think feminism is not feminism. I think it is it's women empowerment. So it's lacking the purposes of traditional feminist views, and it's just basically putting the pedestal in women's favor. So it's always to benefit women, and that's why they always go back and say men are the problem. I think there's a disconnect with certain women in this world, and also with men. Yeah, it's basically across the whole of society. We've lost morality. We have no moral code anymore. Naturally, I think it's better for a woman to be more nurturing. And you know what? It is true. Yeah, it is true. And we're not a specialist in nurturing, because
of course
that's not our DNA, but women are. And I think there's certain things that have been created for us and our minds to be manipulated.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, half of the women don't even believe in feminism. Well, let me put it this way. They only believe in it when it benefits them.
Yeah.
It doesn't work when it doesn't benefit them.
Yeah, of course.
The equality thing, well, I saw a poster the other day for running for equality, yeah? And it said men 10K and it said women 5K. And I just literally was just thinking to myself, so where is the equality in this run? There is no equality in it. But it's not just in social media, it's in marketing as well.
Of course.
Things are given to us in a certain light so that we can, pick it up and think this is the way that it should be. But you know what? It also goes back to kids as well. When I was a kid, I was taught how to treat a woman.
100%.
But women are not raised on how to treat boys or men.
Exactly.
So they grow up just thinking, I'm just meant to be treated by a man.
Yeah.
So there's that disconnect of morality again. Too many people are out here living their lives and not understanding that what I do affects everybody around me.
Of course.
It doesn't just affect me, it affects everybody around me. So, the woman who, I think it was the Whatever podcast, there was this woman talking about, oh, I'm the best OnlyFans girl because I don't go on there and just sell, provocative photos. I give them the boyfriend experience.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, you're not helping them. You're literally giving them more of a reason to pay you so that they can have an opportunity to speak to a woman.
Yeah.
You're backwards. Like, this is the thing. She's not thinking about the moral effects of these guys. They might be lonely. They might need just a conversation. They're not going to go to a bar because they don't want to be a creep. Nor when they go to the gym, they don't want to be chatting to a girl because they feel like a creep. At the end of the day, like, we're put in a certain light and they're put in a certain light. But it is the pinnacle of social media's hold. Yeah, it is literally the foundation of it is sexism, in my opinion. But to a certain degree.
Of course, I think everything we say people have to take it with a pinch of salt, because it's obviously, this is from our perspectives and our opinions. What we might be saying might not be right, of course. And again, it's a generalization. We're not lumping together, you know, the gender. We're not lumping together female and male and saying everybody's like this. This is just from stuff we've seen, from stuff we might have experienced. Anything like that, it is from our, and this is why we create this, because it's like, we're kind of on the fence about everything, and we've spoken about it before. We're on the fence about most things, because I don't really like taking sides. I've seen both sides. I've seen both sides of the story. You know, I've seen guys cheat. I've seen girls cheat. I've seen, you know, I've been able to balance the two out. And I agree and I understand with what women are saying. I agree and understand with what men are saying. But again, I'm not putting it all on anyone, because I think both sides are to blame.
Exactly.
Both sides are to blame. But then the main point to blame is social media, because it's created this whole fairyland, this whole dreamland of like, this is right, because you've got people who are like, this is right, and you've got people who are, this is right, this is wrong, this is wrong. And it clashes, and then all of a sudden you're sat there as a viewer being like, well, what's right and what's wrong? And then you side with one, and you're like, but then you're getting blasted by other people for being like, well, you're on the wrong side, bro. Do you know what I mean? And I think it just creates that divide and that disconnect, like you said, between people.
True.
What's right and what's wrong? There is no right or wrong. It's your opinion. You're allowed to have an opinion. If it's extreme, cool, you're allowed to have an opinion, but people won't agree with you. And that's fine. But when you take it to the platforms and you speak it, you know, it does get tricky, because obviously you are, especially if you're an influencer, it's in the name, you're an influencer, you influence. That's your job. You influence the generation that's coming up, the generation of now. You're influencing people by what you say and what you talk about. Right? So people will take that literally. And that's what people do. People take things literally. They don't take it in a way where it's like, oh, I can learn from that. This is a literal thing I'm going to take and be like, well, that's aimed at me. It's like, brother, it's not. It's a generalization. It's a general saying. It's a general thing that they've created, but you want to take it personally or literally. That's up to you.
Yeah, I get that. That is very much how it is. It also goes a little bit deeper with, you know, there's certain things that influencers receive to promote certain things, right?
Of course.
You know, so what you see online is all a money-making scheme, and we're all falling victim to it. And you're right to say there's right points on the right and there's right points on the left, male and female I'm talking about. And, you know, we could all come together. It's like the traditional sense of politics. There is a left and a right created so that we can fight, so that they can do whatever they want,
of course,
to change to benefit them.
Of course.
And that's the way it works for social media as well. There is certain discourse created so that they could create factions among people. Imagine a world where there was no social media and one guy comes to his, you know, school or his, you know, book reading club, and he's like, you know what, I just love microwaves. I'm in love with microwaves. I just want to take that door apart and just give it a go. Everyone's going to be like, bro, are you all right? Are you okay? But you know what? I bet there's one place on the internet where he can go. People are going to be just like him, and they're going to make that community, and they're going to feel bonded, and they're going to feel more solidified in their ideas. And it's just madness. It's madness.
You can create a whole community from nothing. From nothing. From a joke. You know, and the amount of things I've seen. I mean, you got to think, what was it, years ago? This is a few years back now. There was that thing where it's like the Instagram page, which was just an egg. An egg that
got more likes than
had like fucking millions of likes.
What a beautiful idea.
So what the fuck? And it even ties into art. I mean, you know, art's subjective. I know this, but you're telling me a guy has gone to a gallery and put up a blank canvas and sold it for thousands of pounds, thousands of dollars, whatever it is. There's a guy who taped a banana to a wall. And you're telling me that's art. If I could do this when I was younger, I'd be a fucking millionaire by now.
Did you hear about the guy who sold an invisible sculpture?
Yeah.
What is this, bro?
I know it's subjective, but you genuinely have people going there and be like, wow. But it's like,
it's incredible.
It's mad. It makes me think, what goes on in your mind? I would love to.
Not much.
Well, clearly, because you're looking at an invisible sculpture that's not there. You've been sold a dream. You have been scammed. You've genuinely been scammed because you're sat there sat down, you're sat there on the wooden bench looking at a plinth with nothing in it, with a glass structure around it that the gallery has put in there for safekeeping.
Yeah.
Because they think somebody's going to steal the invisible sculpture.
Yeah, honestly. You know, my idea of art is just, it's a massive money laundering scheme.
100%.
Yeah, it's just,
there are some great artists out there.
Tax-free
Of
as well.
course.
You know,
there are great artists out there. I'm not knocking this, you know, but, and, you know, there are great artists out there that make some worthwhile pieces that will sell on Instagram. You know, there's loads of people that do it. There's a guy on Insta, Sloan. He's a great artist.
Don't think I've seen him.
He's worked with, he's just done a collaboration with Knight. He's worked with Clint from Cortez, however you guys want to say it.
Yeah.
And they're like close friends, and like, he's a great artist, and he's rocked the art world.
Nice.
Because he's made a name for himself. As a black artist, he's made a name for himself. And I think it's amazing. It's beautiful because he's created something from scratch, and it has sustenance behind it. It has a story behind it. Every painting he does has a story behind it, and he sold it. And he sold copies of it. He's made thousands, and he keeps giving to the community. He keeps helping people out.
You sure he wasn't invited to none of those Diddy parties? I'm joking.
That's another story.
Yeah.
But
no, it is exactly that. Like, you know, this is another thing. He's consistent with what he does, and he's being recognized for it. So good on him.
Exactly. He's gained his status within the community. And you're telling me that one guy has just randomly come along and been like, yo, let me just put an invisible statue here and sell it.
Yeah.
And that shit's selling for like 20 grand.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Probably more now.
Probably more.
Yeah, it's probably ripened up, and the price is ripened up.
This is what I mean. And it just goes to show that I think a lot of stuff that is being sold and a lot of stuff that is being advertised online, it's just bullshit.
Yeah. Well, it numbs you, doesn't it? It numbs you to the point where you don't recognize what is real anymore.
Exactly.
You don't recognize the genuineness of, you know, compassion from an artist in their art. You don't see the ideas of someone's, you know, mind explored in their art. You don't see these things anymore. You just see, oh, this looks cool. Everybody else says it's cool, so it must be cool.
Exactly.
Which is kind of boring. And a lot of people, they are looking for something to excite them now. And that's what social media has done, is numbed our brains to the point where we need something else to latch onto. And it goes back to that same microwave example I gave. They go to a community and they're like, agreeable community. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel like they're on the right track. It makes them feel like this is something which I can actually latch onto, and it gives me fulfillment. It's all bollocks, mate. It's all lies. It doesn't actually land at all. Like, that plane is never landing, bro. It never took off in the first place. But, you know, like, this is something from which people latch onto, an idea. It is an idea that gives them an edge of their emotions. You know, where we're constantly in a world where we're bombarded with things that make us feel happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad all the time. When they find a neutral plane, they want to latch onto it.
Of course.
We all want to become comfortable, but it is technology, man. I think it's like, as much as social media is bad, it is technology at the end of the day. Like, if there was anything from which I could do in my current situation and life now, I would separate myself from the new age technology. I'd go back to a more traditional sense of technology.
Simplified time.
You know?
More simplified time. I'd give anything to go back to the MSN days, man.
Yeah, man.
I'd give anything to go back to that, because that was a crazy time.
Yep.
You know? Like, take us back to the old days, man. Do you know what I'm saying?
Honestly.
Take us back genuinely. Like, I think about this all the time. And it's like, at the time, we took it for granted, man.
Yeah.
We genuinely took it for granted, because it's like, that's come and gone.
Yeah.
And we're at a point now where it's just going to keep getting worse.
Yeah.
There's going to be no change.
Yeah.
No change to nothing.
The value of everything is
different. The value of everything is shit. Yeah. It's all just dropped. There's nothing. There's no value to any of it. Yep. Because everything you're looking at is there.
Yeah.
You want to find something, it's there.
Yeah.
You know?
Consumers market now.
Exactly. That's it. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad that it's creating a lot more jobs for people, and it's giving people more goals to work towards. You know, I've seen loads of people that have, which is why I say social media has its good and its bad.
Yeah.
Because I use social media for my own reasons, right?
Yeah.
I use social media to just doom scroll, and obviously to kind of promote, send stuff, all that sort of stuff, right? And I've seen people come from no followers, creating an account, to building a whole brand of themselves. You know, people I know, right? fashion influencers, all of this sort of stuff. And I love it. It's great. I'm happy you're doing that. And I'm happy you're happy where you're at.
Yeah.
But it also just sells a lot of dreams.
Yeah.
You know, it sells so many dreams, especially to kids, because I think, like you say, they're sponges. They absorb everything.
Yeah.
So everything they see online, they're like, okay, cool, that must be real. That must be right.
And it must be easy as well.
It must be easy.
How accessible it is comparison to their ideas of how easy it is to achieve. Because they can see someone online at literally a click of a button, they can see someone online driving a Ferrari in Germany at 300 miles per hour. They think that that is super easy to achieve. But they don't understand is, you know, Bill Gates, you know, all these high technology people, they don't give their kids these pieces of technology, you know, because they understand the difference between my mind being a millionaire and actually being able to function. I must be separated from these consumers.
Control over this.
Exactly.
They create this to make money from it. Of course, they've changed the world with this shit.
Yeah, and they've done a good job.
And they've done an amazing job.
Yeah.
But the fact that they limit their kids, their own children, to access majority of this stuff, it just makes you think, why?
Yeah.
Because they know how dark it can be. They know how deep it can be. You know, you can click on one wrong thing and you're down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You will end up in a place you don't want to be.
Yeah.
Because it's that easy to get to that point. You know, like, you know, these things listen to what you're talking about, because you will be on Instagram, you'll see an advert pop up. You're like, yeah, cool. And then you talk about something else, and then it will come up with that advertising, that item. Or,
oh my God, it happens all the time. Like,
and it just goes to show that it's like, you're not safe.
Yeah.
You're not safe.
Stop listening to me, bro. Stop.
Yeah, you're not safe. To my FBI agent, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want the dog treats.
Yeah. I mean, I never did. Or I didn't want.
I don't even have a dog.
Oh yeah, dude. That is so sad.
I mean, it's sad because it's true, because I did, but I don't now. But it's just that I don't have a dog.
Yeah.
But because I'm talking about dog treats or dog toys, all of a sudden Instagram's like, well, here you go.
Yeah, here you go.
Get a load of this.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, I don't need that.
Yeah. To be under that sort of control is crazy. Like nowadays, you know, when I was younger, I used to go to the shop and I used to explore the shop as a kid, right? As a kid. Obviously, things change when I'm older. I know what I want when I'm going there.
Yeah.
But like the way that I see it now is social media has got certain ideas put in my head from which I agree with.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to buy that. You know what? I'm going to do this. You know what? I'm going to do that. But imagine you go into the shop and all of these ideas are being thrown at you while you're in the shop. Do you know how exciting that experience would be? But yet,
crazily overwhelming.
But yet the local, you know, shopping center, all the shops are shut down.
Yeah.
No one's going anymore.
This is the thing.
It's destroying society.
100%. And, you know, it's destroying the sense of that sentimentality of, and that physicality of going out and exploring, like you said, you know, because you're at home and you're like, oh, I don't want to go out today. I mean, you scroll on ASOS, let me just order this, order that. But it's like, cool, you get the items, you can then just send it back. Whereas like back in the day, it's like you'd have to go into the store, buy the items, try them on in the store.
Yeah.
And maybe if not, take them home, keep the receipt. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, you got order numbers, keep all of this. It takes that, I think it takes that excitement away of you being like, hey boys, we're going shopping center today.
Yeah.
I need to grab some new trainers. Yeah. What are you saying? So now it's like, cool, I like them. Boom, add them to, but boys, what do you think of these? Yeah, cool, great, love them, grab them. Yep, done, ordered.
Yeah, done.
And then you're waiting. You're just in the confine of your own home.
Yep.
You're
looking at through the window like, where's this guy? He should be here right
You're
now.
curtain twitching. You got a text. DPD delivery driver will be here between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m.
Where is the
how's he not here yet?
How's he not here yet?
How's he 4 stops away?
I've got things to do. Like, bro.
Well, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Because you're happy being at home, because you have everything at the touch of a button.
Yeah. I mean, you know, our conversation did kind of stray away from social media. We are talking a bit more about technology now, but I think it all falls into that at the end of the day. You know, technology is the grasp of it all.
Of course.
Like you said, there's loads of pros to social media and there's loads of cons to it as well. But in the grand scheme of things, I think we should adapt the way social media functions so that we can function as, you know, as we're meant to, social creatures.
Of course.
This isn't necessarily social. Technology isn't necessarily social. But then again, it's good because we have podcasts like this where we can have this conversation and you don't have to be in the room.
Exactly. But at the same time, I feel personally, if, like, I see it all the time as well. And this goes back to technology, but also social media. I see it all the time. You go on the train, get on the train. Next time you're on a train, next time any of you on a train, public transport, bus, whatever public transport you guys take, right? Get on a train and just look around you. Look around and see how many people are down just on their phone.
Yeah.
Tapping away, tip, tap, 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 right? Scrolling. AirPods in. I mean, don't get me wrong, of course, I'm part of that problem, AirPods in, but take in your surroundings. There's so much beauty in the world out there. Take in your surroundings. Take your head up away from your phone and just look around and just take it in. Because you look around, you look on the train, you stand in the center of a train, I can guarantee you, you look both ways, one way, next way, at least 90% of the people that you're looking at are going to be on their phones.
Yeah.
If they have phone signal, they'll be on their phones.
Yeah.
Even if they don't, they'll be on their phones.
Yeah. And all of this causes anxiety because,
of course,
you know, when you're in public, you're like, oh my God, let me look at my phone.
Because you get
oh my God, let me
that world.
Yeah,
you get trapped in that world where it's like,
it's a safe place.
It's a safety net.
Yeah.
You use it as a safety net. I mean, like I say, it's hypocritical me saying this because I do it, but I know the effects it has, and I'm trying to stop doing that because long term, I don't want to be 70 years old with anxiety still.
Yeah, imagine that.
Imagine that.
Imagine the stuff I'm going to put in my body to
you know
not be anxious.
You think my nan and granddad would have anxiety at their age? No.
No, they wouldn't.
Maybe for different reasons. Yeah, cool. But social media is the biggest cause of anxiety.
Yeah.
Because it's a way for you to run away.
Yeah.
Now, I know we say we play video games to escape, right? Cool. But that's different because you're still talking with your friends. You're still communicating with people. You're still meeting people online. Granted, it's not physical, but you're still talking to people online. But when you're on your phone, you're just locked away. You're doing this, you're doing that. It's just you lose that I feel like you lose that humanity, like a part of your humanity as a person.
Yeah, your touch is gone.
It chips away at you because you're like, I don't need people. I'm safe being behind a screen.
Yeah.
I'm safe being on a phone. I don't need to have physical conversations or physical touch with people because at the end of the day, it's like, I've got everything I need in the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, yeah. I mean, I think for everybody who's listening to this conversation, you know, what have you done in this experience to try and separate yourself from the grasp of social media? Have you understood, like, this gives you, you know, sort of that dopamine hit that isn't necessarily required to live a functional life, you know? Leave it in the comments and let us know what you think. And for those listening, we'll sort something out so that you can contact us and give us some some experiences that you've had and what has changed your life. But I
think we want to obviously hear people's stories and get their ideas on it. But I mean, like Luke say, drop it in the comments and just let us know, you know, what your ideas are.
Yeah. You know, we'll touch up on all of these topics once again at some point with your perspectives involved. So yeah, I can't say enough how much I'm enjoying this. Like, it's so good.
It's been a good time. I'm glad we finally got around to it, and it'll be more of a consistent thing. And just want to kind of get people involved and hear people's stories, man.
Yeah, I want to hear people's stories. I want to
hear the stories. Juice.
Yeah, honestly.
But within reason.
Yeah, of course.
And respectfully.
Yeah, we won't say everything.
No, of course.
But we can read.
I want people to come in. They don't have to be name dropped. It could be anonymous. I don't want to know your name. I don't need to know your name. If you feel the need to do that, do that. But at the end of the day, I just want to know that I'm somewhat helping people, you know, and helping myself.
Yeah, exactly, man. This is good. I really enjoy this. But yeah, if you enjoy this also, just make sure you follow us. We're going to be releasing, what we're doing now. We're doing an episode every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, I'd say. Yeah.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the video, share it with your friends, share it with your nan, share it with your granddad. I know they will enjoy this conversation.
They might have mental health problems going on. Who knows? They might be engulfed with social media.
And they may send us an email or a letter that we could read, you know, like
we've got a fax machine available.
Technology may be changing, but they're not. So
exactly.
Send it to them. But we'll see you guys in the next episode. Stay cool.
We'll see you soon.